After the success of the first generation Panamera, a follow-up was guaranteed. In the second generation, the car became wider, lower and sleeker, with a fresh look smoothing out some of the bumps of the first generation. The second generation model ended production in 2024 after the third generation, more closely aligned to the looks of the Taycan model, was announced in 2023. This means that used prices have seen a change over the last year, with the new model arriving in showrooms, making deals on a used Panamera increasingly enticing, particularly for those that looked at a used Taycan as the prices plunged but decided against a full EV. Designer Peter Varga had the MSB platform to underpin his design. This chassis is shared with the Bentley Continental GT and Flying Spur, but I'll note that the original design of the MSB platform is from Porsche. The second generation model retains the sedan, with the rear style line similar to a 911 model. There is also a shooting brake version called Sport Turismo for additional rear space. There are several engines and body style variants, but I'll come onto those later in the guide. But as a key pointer, some get a short-lived diesel in the second generation, while all have a hybrid variant alongside a variety of solely engine-powered cars. After the initial launch in 2017, there was a hot sales year in 2018, the best that the Panamera had ever had, which then slowed going into 2020. The car was refreshed in 21, which gave a boost to sales, but for a variety of reasons, sales still lagged behind 2019, that was just behind the record year in 2018. For this reason, used buyers will find the best choice either in 2018 and 2019, but if it's a facelift model, you'll want to go for a 2022 and 2023 sales year to boost choice everywhere, but China began a decline in interest in the Panamera in 2022, possibly in favour of the all-electric Taycan. Now, for those of you wanting a diesel engine, I should note that the diesel engine is gone after 2018, so it's 2017 and 2018 production that you'll want, and it's around mid-2018 that Porsche stopped making diesel entirely. They say they're going to bring it off the production temporarily and then release a statement saying actually they've decided there will be no diesel. So no diesel after that. If you're interested in it, 2017, early 2018. If the diesel isn't your thing, but you're keen on a hybrid, then you'll be happy to know that as to the second generation, the 4, 4S and Turbo S all have hybrid variants alongside the regular models, and there is also a GTS model without hybrid assistance that fills the gap for those that want to move above the base Panamera and Panamera 4 and 4S, but don't want to stretch into the crazy power of the Turbo and Turbo S. And a quick note for parents, grandparents, people with lots of friends that like to put them in the back of the car. The rear space on this 971 generation is actually quite generous. Now, you're not going to get a couple of centres from the Boston Celtics in there, the 2 7-footers they've got. I think Porzingis is like 7'2". Probably not a basketball fan, so it doesn't matter. But they're not going to go in the back of there. But people 6 foot plus are saying, yeah, they got in, had a long drive, and they enjoyed it. Another thing, if you like to do a morning coffee run and pop your coffee in the cup holder, you've only got one. So you might be fighting with it with passenger if that's what you do regularly together. Moving on to safety, and you're not looking at crash test footage because there isn't any. Like many of the cars the brand makes, there was no testing from Euro NCAP, North American IIHS, or Australian New Zealander ANCAP. Moving on to common faults, and a reminder that channel memberships are open if you'd like to support the channel, but otherwise consider subscribing for more videos in the future. The first thing to check on a potential purchase is the air suspension. Most owners that have had an issue report it affecting the car after 50,000 miles, so if you're buying around this figure, check the ride height is equal before and after test drive, and preferably measure the distance from the top of the wheel to the edge of the uppermost part of the wheel arch when you first arrive to see a car, and ask to see it cold. If the system is struggling with pressure, it will be lower when it's been locked and left overnight than it will after a drive when the system has been active, unless the failure has affected the ability for the car to increase pressure to the shocks. Have a look at the brakes when you view a car. If the calipers are yellow, then it is fitted with ceramic carbon discs. Note that the hybrids have a light green brake caliper, which is different. Carbon ceramics are very costly to replace, and so speak to an owner or check service records to see if they've been previously replaced. These discs will last a long time and can take multiple track days without taking a lot of life out of them, but they won't last forever. Navigation issues have been reported for those that own a 2017 car facing interference that appears resolved in 2018. When viewing, open the fuel door to check it springs out as intended. Some owners experience an issue where it needs to be helped open, as it wouldn't pop as intended. Some owners went through 2 warranty claims trying to get this issue fixed, on 2017, 2018 and 2019 cars. Listen for any knocks from the rear on test drive. If you hear them, then it's likely failed anti-roll bar links. Check the rear spoiler lowers and raises several times without sticking. It's not that common, but will require a few hours swearing on your driveway while pinching your fingers or some time at a specialist. If the car has a night vision camera, it's worth calling a detailer that works with paint film protection and getting a quote to cover it. Although this isn't impenetrable, it will be tougher than without. A few unlucky owners cracked it after a stone was flung up from the car overtaking them, and a replacement runs into thousands just for the part. I have to say though, despite this list, the Panamera was very reliable for most owners, and I had to dig deep to find unhappy owners. Overall, I'd have a look for all that I've mentioned above, as it's worth 10 minutes to try and avoid a bunch of problems, but for the most part, you'll find nothing but a good car, and so service records will be the most important to check, as none of the engines on this generation are forgiving to those that defer maintenance, and you don't want to be paying for other people's errors. Next are the recalls, but a friendly reminder of the Miles Driven book, as it's been a few videos since I mentioned it, and well worth a read the next time you fancy spending some free time away from a screen. In 2018, there was a single recall for the anti-roll bar links under campaign AJ06. This campaign was typical of Porsche, finding anti-roll bars fitted to earlier cars were not satisfactory to the brand's longevity expectation, so recalling all of them rather than offering goodwill to those that suffered a fault. In 2019, there were 4 recalls for 2017 to 2019 produced cars. This was campaign AJ13 for a software error causing power steering faults. The second was for the brake wear warning indicator, again a software fault. The third was similar to the first, but this time the power steering issue was linked to that damaged insulation in the wiring harness. Then there is a brake pad warn message recall under campaign AKB8, as the system is designed to remain on when it detects the brakes need replacing. However, it was found that the system would allow the message to be erased. Then there were several years without a recall until 2023, when there were 2. The first for moisture leaking into the coolant pump control unit, resulting in a short circuit on some Panameras built until 2021. The second was campaign APA9 and was a serious safety recall, as the screws on the rear seatbelt may have not been tightened sufficiently at factory and needed to be checked. Next up are the engines, and I'll note that all engines are mated to an 8-speed PDK transmission. The diesel engine is the one that I've got the least data on because it wasn't out for a long time, so we'll start with that one. The 4-litre V8 diesel is coded EA898 TTD and is produced until 2018 for Porsche. Power is rated at 416 brake horsepower with an official fuel economy of 42.3 miles per gallon or 6.7 litres per 100 kilometres. Despite it being one of the slower engines on offer, this is relative, and unless you think 0 to 62 miles per hour or 100 kilometres an hour in 4.5 seconds is slow, that's just 0.3 seconds slower to 62 than the 996 generation 911 turbo with a manual gearbox, and is actually faster than the 996 turbo with a Tiptronic. Just to put it into context, due to the very limited sales, there was nowhere near enough data for me to advise of common faults. However, the V8 TDI engines in the VW group are generally very reliable. The older 4.2 engine fitted to the A8 was actually used in marine applications. Moving on to the 3-litre V6 coded EA839T and commonly found in Audi's larger and more powerful cars, the entry Panamera and Panamera 4 share this engine until 2020, meaning it is relatively rare as it is dropped from the lineup after 3 years in production, although as a launch model in several markets, you may find it more common on the early cars. Power is rated at 325 brake horsepower on both models, with an official average of 37.9 miles per gallon or 7.5 litres per 100 kilometres. I've covered this engine before in several Audi cars, and rocker arm failures on 2017 and 2018 production are the most common complaint, but overall non-remapped or tuned versions tend to be reliable. Cylinder number 6 has been a concern on some tuned cars, and premature turbo failure is a rare but costly expense that some owners have faced, although a few benefited from extended warranty that covered the turbos as the car had perfect service history. Overall, this was a good engine, but I can see why it was overlooked on the Panamera, as generally speaking the next engine I'll cover is the one that most owners find the perfect middle ground and began life with engineers aiming it into RS model Audis and the 4S model of the Panamera, which historically is a bit of a favourite among owners. A quick note on the 3-litre before we move on, there are no hybrid versions of this engine in the Panamera, so if that's what you are looking for, then you can scroll past the base Panamera and Panamera 4. Next is the 2.9 litre twin-turbo V6, coded same EA839, which goes into the facelift base Panamera and Panamera 4 with 325 brake horsepower. It is in the 4S from launch with 434 brake horsepower. Then there is the 4E hybrid with 456 brake horsepower combined up to 2016 and 552 brake horsepower after the refresh in 2020, arriving as a 2021 model year. This increase is due to the model becoming a 4SE hybrid. Fuel economy is officially rated at 34.9 miles per gallon or 8.1 litres per 100 kilometres, and the hybrid range is officially 31 miles or 50 kilometres. Again, 2016 and 2017 production of the engine had rocker arms that were reported to be problematic. I actually managed to find a couple of RS Audis blowing the engine due to this, although they were tuned to nearly 700 brake horsepower at the time. From 2018 this part is replaced, and specialists can replace the earlier one. However, it isn't a quick and easy cheap fix. Finding cars without tuning and a full Porsche history reporting this issue was rare, but it is something to note. However, overall owners were happy with the engine, and the fact that it now lives on into the third generation shows that Porsche have confidence in the engine too. If the concern of the earlier cam follower issue will be something that will worry you for the whole time that you own the car, then buy a 2019 onwards, as all of these will have the updated design. Then there is the V8. It's coded EA825, fitted to the GTS, Turbo and Turbo S. In the Turbo S there is the option for a hybrid system, badged Turbo SE Hybrid. In pre-facelift models, power is 454 brake horsepower for the GTS, 541 brake horsepower for the Turbo, and then the hybrid Turbo S at 671 brake horsepower combined. In the facelift this increases to 473 brake horsepower for the GTS, and the Turbo is dropped for the Turbo S with 621 brake horsepower, and then the Turbo S Hybrid increases this to 690 brake horsepower. All V8 models except the pre-facelift GTS have a 0 to 60 time in the 3-second bracket. The slower early GTS model takes 4.1 seconds, so if you time your commute to work in milliseconds, that might make a difference. For the rest of humanity, you'll be happy being one of the fastest things on the road, no matter which model you choose. Fuel economy was officially rated at 30.4 miles per gallon or 9.3 litres per 100 kilometres, and again 31 miles or 50 kilometres was quoted from the battery if it's a hybrid model. Overall, looking across the Porsche models with this engine, it is fair to say that it is reliable. The cooling system for the hybrid powertrain caused a few issues for those in warm climates, but didn't cause any failures. As ever, I did a bit of a deeper look to see if I could find something starting to look common, as these are still quite new engines, but it didn't come up with much aside from tuned examples pushing the boundaries. Did eventually cause problems, but these were fairly limited to when the engine was new and companies were still finding its limits. Overall, Panamera owners didn't have a lot to say, aside from fuel economy wasn't as good as claimed, and cold weather does limit the electric range, although most still got about 80% of the official figure, even in Scandinavia. On to oil picks, and a Panamera 4 after the facelift with a 2.9 engine does appear to have some great deals on the used market, and while it won't be the fastest, the all-wheel drive and reasonable specification, plus the fact that it's still faster than most cars on the road, make it a bit of a standout for a bargain buy. For the top of the budget, a GTS model with a V8 is hard to beat, but those of you that enjoy the guides regularly probably knew it was going to be the GTS. However, I'd look for a facelift if possible, as the pre-facelift only ran for a year in GTS trim, and so there is less choice, pushing prices up a bit, making the facelift ones not much more on the used market. Next though, why not check out the Taycan guide, or the Macan or Cayenne, and as ever, all the best with your car search.